We start with breaking news tonight that Senator Barack Obama has unexpectedly announced that he will suspend his presidential campaign on Thursday and Friday so he can be in Hawaii with his 86-year-old grandmother. She is ill. She has taken a turn for the worse. The campaign is keeping the specific details of her medical condition private, but they have said that her health has declined to the point of seriousness that Senator Obama believes he must suspend her campaign and go join her. She is 86 years old. Her name is Madeline Dunham. She played a key role in raising him from the time he was born until the moment that he left for college. He has spoken often and with a lot of emotion on the campaign trail about how important she has been in his life. When Senator Obama took a week-long vacation earlier on the campaign trail, it was in part because he wanted to spend that time in Hawaii with his ailing grandmother. This is an unexpected development on the campaign trail. This, of course, has huge implications for Senator Obama and his family in their personal life. Of course, what we're all left to wonder for the country is what this means for his political life as well. Joining us now on the phone is NBC's Lee Cowan. He has been traveling with the Obama campaign. Lee, thanks very much for joining us tonight.
Sure, Rachel.
Did this announcement come out of nowhere? Did you have any indication that something like this might be happening?
No, not at all. In fact, it was about halfway into the flight from Orlando tonight after that rally with Hillary Clinton that spokesman Robert Gibbs came back pretty somber-faced and said that he was changing some of the campaign plans. We were supposed to be doing some campaign swings in Wisconsin on Thursday, or on Wednesday, and on Thursday in Iowa. Those have now changed. He's still going to do a campaign rally in Indianapolis, but shortly after that, he'll be boarding his plane to fly to Hawaii. It's going to be a long flight. It's about 8 hours from Indianapolis to Hawaii. He'll spend Thursday evening and as much of Friday as he can in Hawaii at the bedside of his grandmother, and then fly back from Hawaii, presumably overnight, to resume his efforts on the campaign trail on Saturday. That's the plan now, although, of course, if this is as serious as it sounds, perhaps that could extend even longer than that if the worst-case scenario happens. The campaign simply isn't sure yet, but at this time, they think he'll be back out on the campaign trail on Saturday.
Have they given you indications that Senator Obama's grandmother is hospitalized? Have they given any specific information about what type of illness she might be suffering from?
No, they're still keeping pretty mum about exactly what her condition is, although she was hospitalized last week, we understand. She was released late last week. She's back home in her apartment in Honolulu, on Oahu. That's where, as you said, Senator Obama went and visited her almost every day when he was on vacation in mid-August. We never saw her. They were always usually very private moments. He would simply go to the elevator, we'd see him go up, he'd spend an hour or so and come back down. But he did that almost every day, sometimes with Michelle and the two girls, sometimes by himself. He's very close to her, as you mentioned. This is a person who he credits largely with raising him, especially in his later years in high school and before he left for college. So obviously a tough decision to make for him. This is the heat of the campaign, but clearly this is a priority for him and his family.
Lee, I'm interested in the decision by the campaign, not just to cancel the two events planned for, I believe it's Madison, Wisconsin, and Des Moines, Iowa, on Thursday, but also to try to squeeze in this Indianapolis event before he went. Was that something that was on his schedule before, or has that been added to the schedule sort of to compensate for those other events that he will have to miss?
It wasn't on the schedule before. Campaign spokesman said don't read too much into this. I think they wanted to try as much as they could. You know, Indianapolis is still relatively close to home. It doesn't sound like he's leaving to go back to Chicago and then go to Hawaii. However, it sounds like he's leaving directly from Indianapolis. But you're right, they are certainly squeezing this in on Thursday morning. But the campaign says not to read too much into that. They were planning to go to Indianapolis anyway, they say. They didn't have a precise day. It seems like it's pretty much day-to-day at this point exactly where they're going. So this was a last-minute adjustment, but they said doesn't necessarily mean one thing or the other.
Lee, do you get any sense from the campaign, either officially or, I guess, in a more ambient sense, in terms of what they think the political cost of this is, what they think the political risk here? Obviously, they decided to do it, but they have to have some sense of how big a problem this might pose for them in terms of momentum and in terms of just how they're doing with just 15 days left before the election.
Well, I mean, they didn't really say this is all happening relatively quickly, although it sounds like the senator had a pretty good sense as of late last week, or at least the beginning of last week, that things had taken a turn for the worse. As we said, he was taken to the hospital last week and just released, and it sounds as if the news was bad enough that he had to make this decision. I think Most would say that this is clearly the priority, that this shows where his priorities lie in terms of with his family, with the woman who raised him, with the woman who essentially he credits with giving him many of the credentials that he is so proud of, that he thinks will serve him well in the White House. So I think even though they haven't said what they worry about the cost might be, clearly this is not a time that you want to let down your guard. I mean, all along over the last really 5 or 6 days, as you know, Rachel, he's been telling supporters, look, just because we're ahead in the polls, just because things seem to be going our way, it seems as though we have the momentum. He has 2 words for everybody in New Hampshire. Everyone thought he was going to be ahead there, and it didn't happen that way. So they never were taking anything for granted. So clearly this is something that may not necessarily stop their momentum, but 2 days off the trail this close to Election Day is a big blow.